please. How are you? Good, I hope. Do you believe in UFOs? Aliens? Extraterrestrials? We have so much space out there, and we're just dots. Just the smallest little thing. We are a piece of sand in the universe. It's hard to believe that we are the only things out there. So, I'm bringing to you some stories of UFOs, alien encounters, possible abductions. I didn't want to read ahead too much, because I want to be surprised, just like you. So, I'm going to go ahead and begin reading for you, and I hope you enjoy the stories that I tell you. It says here, and forgive me, I want to say before I start, I have 2 dogs that bark from time to time. And I know that's bothersome, but I wanted to let you know ahead of time that you might hear them barking and going on. So, with no further hesitation, I'm going to start the stories, and I hope that you enjoy them as much as I know that I will. UFOs have fascinated and puzzled people for decades, yet hard evidence seems to ever elusive. Many people are convinced that not only are extraterrestrials visiting Earth, but that governments have perpetuated a top-secret global conspiracy to cover it up. Here's a look at UFOs throughout history. How are you doing today? Good, I hope. We are discussing UFOs today. Today, most people equate UFOs with extraterrestrial intelligence and advanced technologies, but this is a very recent idea. That's not to say that historically people did not report seeing unusual things in the skies. They surely did. Comets, meteors, eclipses, and the like had been reported and sometimes recorded for millennia. In fact, some researchers believe that the Star of Bethlehem may have been an illusion created by a merging of Jupiter and Saturn, which occurred right around Jesus' birth. It's only been in the past century or so that anybody assumed that unknown lights or objects in the sky were residuals from other planets. Several of the planets had been noticed for millennia, but were not thought of as places where other living creatures might reside. For example, ancient Greeks and Romans thought the planets were gods. We know better now, don't we? Or we think we do. Early science fiction writers like Jules Verne and Edgar Allan Poe fueled the public's interest in voyages to other worlds, and as technology developed, some people began to wonder if that might not indeed be possible for advanced civilizations. Like I said before, we're tiny. The Earth is tiny in this universe. How can we be the only ones? I'm not saying I believe, I'm not saying I don't believe either. I'm just saying it's a possibility. What do you think? Do you think that it's a possibility? The first reports of what could be called UFOs emerged in the late 1800s. Though in those days they didn't use terms like UFO, flying saucer, but instead airships. The most dramatic early UFO encounter occurred in 1897 Texas, when E. Hayden, a newspaper reporter for the Dallas Morning News, described an amazing encounter, complete with a crashed spacecraft. Dozens of eyewitnesses, a recovered dead Martian body, and metallic wreckage. 50 years later, a nearly identical story would circulate of a crash in the neighboring state of New Mexico. The fantastic tale unraveled when researchers could find no eyewitnesses to support Hayden's story. Nothing of the alien or the several tons of mysterious spacecraft wreckage was ever found. It turned out that Hayden had made the whole story up as a publicity stunt to attract tourists. Do you think they did? Do you think they made it up? I'm not sure. My page messed up. Okay, here we go. UFO sightings. Early newspaper hoaxes aside, there have been countless UFO reports over the decades, and few of them stand out as especially important. The first report of a flying saucer dates back only to 1947, when a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 objects resembling boomerangs in the sky. He described the movement as like a saucer if you skipped it across the water, which a careless reporter misunderstood as saying that the objects themselves resembled flying saucers, and that mistake launched many flying saucer reports in later decades. Investigators think that Arnold probably saw a flock of pelicans and misjudged their size, their large wings creating the V shape he had described. The most famous UFO crash allegedly occurred when something skeptics say a top-secret spy balloon, later say a spacecraft with alien pilots, crashed on a ranch in the desert outside of Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, and the debate ranges to this day. That's probably one of the most famous stories of aliens I've ever heard, was the one in Roswell. I remember as a kid, my parents watching documentaries and stuff on it. The first UFO abduction case, and to this day, the most famous, was that of Barney and Betty Hill, an interracial couple who, in 1961, claimed to have chased down and abducted by a UFO. However, since there were no eyewitnesses to the event, they didn't report the abduction at the time, only remembering it under hypnosis. Many remain skeptical. Another famous UFO sighting occurred near Phoenix, Arizona in March 1997, which is quite recent, actually, when a series of bright lights were reported in the night skies. Though it is known that the military dropped flares over a nearby proving ground during routine exercises. However, at the time of the sightings, UFOs thus dismissed the government's explanation of the lights and insist there's more to the story. Oh, this is more to the story, of course. Since then, a host of UFO sightings have been reported. Here are a handful that, in recent years, got a lot of attention with links to articles from the time. January 7, 2007. Strange lights over Arkansas fueled much speculation on the internet after the Air Force debunked the UFO claims, explaining that flares had been dropped from the airplanes as part of a routine training. April 21st, 2008. Phoenix lights were reported again. It was a hoax created by road flares tied to helium balloons. The hoaxer admitted it, and eyewitnesses reported seeing him do it. January 5th, 2009. New Jersey UFOs that proved so baffling they were reported on the History Channel turned out to be helium balloons. Red flares and fishing lines, all part of a social experiment. The men who perpetuated the hoax, Joe, Rudy, and Chris Russo, were fined $250 for creating what could have been a danger to the nearby Morristown Airport. October 13th, 2010, UFOs over Manhattan turned out to be helium balloons that escaped from a party at a school in Mount Vernon. January 28th, 2011, videos of UFOs hovering over the Holy Land, the Dome of the Rock of Jerusalem Temple Mount was revealed as a hoax. Effects of video editing software use were discovered. July 2011, the sighting of a UFO on the ocean floor was attributed to Swedish scientist but that researcher Peter Lindberg merely said that the thing he detected in blurry images was completely round, an assertion not supported by the low-resolution sonar image. A second anomaly made the case seem even more bizarre, but no evidence has emerged to suggest alien origin. April 20, 2012, a UFO near the sun spotted in NASA image turned out to be a camera glitch. Again, April 2012, a viral UFO video taken from a plane over South Korea likely showed a droplet of water on the airplane's window. May 2012, a nephew of the famous Wayans Brothers comedy team, Dwayne Wayans, I'm not sure if I said that right, filmed a UFO over Studio City, California, but like many UFO sightings, this one turned out to be the planet Venus. In fact, even airline pilots have mistaken Venus for a UFO. And then we go on to official investigations, so maybe this will tell us a little something that is out there, maybe. When UFO reports became more common and in some cases achieved national and even international attention, the U.S. government began to pay attention. And they should. Given that UFOs are literally unidentified flying objects, the Pentagon's interest in the topic is both understandable and appropriate. After all, unknown objects over American skies could be a threat, whether their origin is Russia, North Korea, or the Andromeda Galaxy. The Air Force investigated thousands of unexplained aerial reports between 1947 and 1969, eventually concluding that most of the UFO sightings involved clouds, stars, optical illusions, conventional aircraft, or spy planes. A small percentage remained unexplained because of a lack of information. In December 2017, the New York Times reported on the existence of the U.S. Department of Defense program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. It began in 2007 and ended in 2012 when, according to Pentagon spokesman Thomas Crossing, it was determined that there were other higher priority issues that merited funding. Sorry for my sniffing, I have a bit of a cold. Much of the program and its conclusions have not been released, and it's not clear what, if any, useful information came from this effort. Several short videos of military jets encountering something they couldn't identify have been released by AATIP. Already, some have suggested that distant jets might be the culprit. In the past, crowdsourced research has yielded answers to seemingly inexplicable phenomena in our skies. A mystery missile seen off the coast of California in November 2010, for example, stumped military experts at first, but was later determined to be an ordinary commercial jet plane control seen from an odd angle. The fact that the U.S. government had a program dedicated to researching unidentified craft and objects has caused many UFO buzzs to triumphantly announce that they were right all along, but this finally proof that the wall of silence is breaking and the government cover-up is cracking. There is, however, significantly less here than meets the eye. The government routinely spends money to research and sometimes promote topics that turn out to have little or no evidence or scientific validity. There are hundreds of federal projects that have been funded despite never having been proven valid or effective, including the Star Wars missile defense program, abstinence-only sex education, and the DARE anti-drug program. The idea that there must be some validity to the project or else it would not have been funded or renewed is laughable. From the 1970s through the mid-1990s, the U.S. government had a secret project called Stargate, designed to explore the possibility of psychic powers and whether remote viewers could successfully spy on Russia during the Cold War. Research went on for about 2 decades, with little apparent success. Eventually, scientists who were asked to review the results concluded the psychic information was neither validated nor useful. Like AATIP, Project Stargate was soon shut down. One possible clue as to why the $22 million program might have continued despite yielding no clear evidence of extraterrestrials is the financial incentive to keep it going. The New York Times noted that the shadowy program was largely funded at the request of Harry Reid, the Nevada Democrat who was the Senate Majority Leader at the time. Most of the money went to an aerospace research company run by a billionaire entrepreneur and longtime friend of Mr. Reid's, Robert Bigelow, who is currently working with NASA to produce expendable craft for humans to use in space. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, and Wood, I'm glad that you could join too. We've been discussing UFOs and whether they're real or not. Right now I'm up to UFO psychology. It's not hard to understand why there are so many UFO sightings. After all, the only criterion for a UFO is that some flying object be unidentified by whoever is looking at it at the time. Any object seen in the sky, especially at night, could be very difficult to be identified because of the limitations of human perception. Knowing how far away something is helps us determine its size and speed. That's why we know that moving cars seen at a distance aren't really smaller, nor are they moving slowly. It's simply an optical illusion. If the eyewitness doesn't know the distance, then he or she cannot determine the size. Is that thing or light in the sky 20 feet long and 200 yards away, or is it 200 feet long and a mile away? It's impossible to know. This makes estimates of size, distance, and speed of UFOs very unreliable. Even the planet Venus, at least 25 million miles away, has been mistaken for a UFO by pilots and others on many occasions. But when you see something in the sky, thank you. When you see something in the sky and it's moving in bizarre movements and patterns, it's not a plane, it's not a light, and it's not Venus, right? So, what is it? I've read through all of this. Well, I still have some to read. But I've read through a lot of this, and there's no explanations to any of that. So, I will continue to read, and maybe it will tell us a little something. Psychologists also know that our brains tend to fill in missing information. I apologize for my sniffing, by the way. Again, I have a bit of a cold, which can mislead us. For example, many sightings of 3 lights in the night sky are reported as appearing as a triangular spacecraft. The fact is that any 3 lights in the sky, whether connected or not, will form a triangle if you assume without evidence that each of those lights are fixed at the ends of 3 points. Had a witness seen 4 lights, he or she would have assumed it was a rectangular-shaped object in the night sky above him. Our brains sometimes make connections where none exist. What did you see that during the day? Does the same apply? All that is needed to create a UFO sighting is one person who may not recognize a light or object in the sky. But just because one person or even several people can't immediately identify or explain something they see doesn't mean that someone else with more training or experience, or even the same person seeing the same object with a different angle, may not instantly recognize it. While it's possible that extraterrestrials and spacecraft exist and have visited Earth, the UFO sightings so far provide no real evidence. The lesson, as always, is that unknown lights in the sky is not the same as extraterrestrial spacecraft. So, that's the end of that story. But I happen to have a couple more stories from people who claim to have seen UFOs. These are actual testaments of people who believe that they saw the UFOs or something thereof that nature. This one, these stories are rather short, but there's quite a few of them. Number 1, it says, "We're not crazy," pilots tell Yellowknife air traffic controllers in 2023. That was just last year. Canadian air traffic controllers and pilots couldn't identify 2 white lights moving in a circular pattern reported over Canada's Northwest Territories in 2023. Good evening. Just wondering, do you got 2 planes that are just to the east of your field doing circuits or maneuvers? A crew member aboard a Canadian North flight headed to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, asked air traffic controllers. It was just before midnight on January 29th, 2023. Negative. I have no reported traffic in the area. The Yellowknife air traffic controllers replied, "You have a visual on something." The crew of the twin turboprop Canadian North aircraft responded somewhat hesitantly. "Yeah, we're looking at 2 lights dancing around here. To the east of your field, they're above us. About I don't know what. We're not seeing them on TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System, but we can see the lights moving around." There's a pause before the crew member radios back to say, "We're not crazy." "No, we believe you," the air traffic controller replies. The sighting remains unexplained. So I read that other story, and now this. Come on, people. It's a possibility. Like I said at the very beginning, we are right. We're minuscule in this galaxy. Just a little piece of sand, and we don't have any clue what all is out there. They've taken planet Pluto from a planet to not a planet to a rock to a microplanet. They can't see that far. They can't go that far. Yeah, I would have called scared too. I think that there is a huge possibility. They may not be what they say in movies, but I think that there's a huge possibility that we're not alone here. My husband jokes that they come here and they think that we are dumb, so they just leave us alone. I think they're probably very different and scary too. I don't think they're humanoid. And as far as the planets that we have in our galaxy, I don't think that there's any creatures or life on them, but I think they're part of some other galaxy that's out there. And they have evidently a lot more technology and information than what we do, possibly more than what we'll ever have. There's a whole lot that we don't know. A whole lot. Agreed. So, the next story is even shorter than that last one. But it's called the Phoenix Lights Incident, 1997, Arizona. There was multiple witnesses reported seeing a large triangular-shaped object flying over Phoenix, Arizona. The object was described as being massive in size, silent, and emitting a series of lights. Despite the numerous eyewitness accounts and photographic evidence, the Phoenix Lights incident remains a topic of debate and speculation. Some believe that the object was a secret military aircraft, while others believe that it was an extraterrestrial spacecraft. There's always going to be skeptics everywhere. But I'm not saying I'm like one of these people that wants to be abducted, because that would be terrifying to me. But I would like to know. I would like to know what's out there. I think that last summer we saw some lights in the sky, and they said that it was part of the satellite system, but I don't know. And then a few years ago, I saw something in the sky, and I don't know what it was. A UFO. Unidentified flying object, I guess. It wasn't a plane, and it wasn't a helicopter. And it was during the day. Okay, next story. Rendlesham Forest Incident, 1980, Suffolk, UK. This took place in England in 1980 near joint US-UK military base of RAF, Bentwaters, and RAF Woodbridge. According to eyewitnesses, military officers encountered an unidentified glowing object in the forest, which they described as being metallic and emitting a bright light. They also reported strange symbols etched on the object's surface. They claimed that they experienced a range of physical and psychological effects after the encounter. Despite an official investigation by the military, the Rendlesham Forest incident remains unexplained. So that mentions strange symbols etched on the object's surface. I bet you were scared. Yeah, I'm sure it was creepy. So, this mentions strange symbols. I can't remember what they're called. Crop circles. Now, I know that people can create those, but a lot of those have been unexplained as well. And this mentions basically the same thing about the strange symbols etched. And back in Roswell, they found all the stuff. They found a crash site that had strange metal that was unlike anything from this earth. There's just too many coincidences. This is story 4, and it's called The Gulf Breeze 6. 1987 through 1988, Gulf Breeze, Florida. The Gulf Breeze 6 refers to a series of UFO sightings that took place in Gulf Breeze, Florida in the late 1980s. According to accounts, 6 Florida residents claim to have encountered a series of strange flying objects, including a large triangular-shaped craft, Some believe that the sightings were genuine encounters with extraterrestrial craft, while others argued that they were hoaxes or misidentifications of other aircraft. Despite official investigations, there are no clear-cut answers. There never are any clear-cut answers. Oh, you saw a video of one? I haven't seen that one. But I would definitely look it up. I just find all this stuff. Yeah, send it to me, please. I find all this stuff just interesting. Like, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be doing a live on cryptids. And if you don't know what cryptids are, they're, creatures that, could be extinct or could not be extinct, that people have seen and tried taking videos of, like the Loch Ness Monster or aliens or Bigfoot, Chupacabra. So it'll be a fun live to be a part of. I'm looking forward to it. I think I have it set for January 16th, again at 9 a.m. Story number 5 is also a short one. The West Wall UFO Incident, 1966, Melbourne, Australia. The West Hall UFO incident took place in Melbourne, Australia in 1966, when a large disc-shaped object was seen hovering low in the sky above a school in the suburb of West Hall. The object was described as being silent and emitting a bright light, and it reportedly landed briefly in a nearby field before taking off again. The sighting was reported by multiple witnesses, including students and teachers at the school. The site is now a UFO-themed children's playground. Well, they turned that into something fun. A UFO-themed children's playground. That'd be fun to go to. This is story 6. The Lakenheath Bentwaters incident. I hope I'm pronouncing that right because it's a weird word. 1956, England, UK. As spooky incidents go, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident is right up there. The UFO sighting took place in England in 1956 when a series of strange lights were seen in the sky over the Bentwaters and Lakenheath air bases. They were described as being large, glowing objects that were flying at high speeds and performing unusual maneuvers. The sightings were reported by multiple witnesses, including military personnel. It remains one of the most mysterious and unexplained UFO sightings in Europe. Now, if military personnel saw it and reported it and can't explain it, then that means that there's probably something out there. The Maury Island Incident, 1947, Puget Sound, Washington, U.S. The Maury Island Incident took place in Puget Sound, Washington in 1947. A large donut-shaped object was seen hovering above the waters of Puget Sound, and strange objects including rocks and metal fragments reportedly fell from the craft and landed on the nearby island of Maury. The sighting was reported by 2 witnesses, and to this day, the incident continues to generate interest and speculation among UFO enthusiasts. I don't remember when, but I think that it was maybe 2 years ago that the government finally decided to stop hiding the fact that UFOs and extraterrestrials were real. I guess there was too many reports coming in, and the military kept seeing it. So There's just been reports for hundreds of years that they've seen something. The World UFO Hotspot, 1992 to 2023, Bonnybridge, Scotland. The World UFO Hotspot. I thought that the World UFO Hotspot was Roswell, but this says different. So, the picturesque Scottish town of Bonnybridge, between Glasgow and Edinburgh, is the World UFO Hotspot with more than 6,000 sightings, and residents are demanding to know why. 6,000 sightings. Wow. Local councillor Billy Buchanan wants a government investigation. Is it military? We don't know, but we demand to know. UFO experts have descended on Bonnybridge, but no one can explain the alien crop circles or sightings that began in '92, when a motorist reported a craft floating over the road nestled between the dark rolling mountains and misty glens. Well, Scotland is supposed to be pretty, so maybe that's why they're going there. The 6,000 reportings in that short time, that's amazing. The Coney helicopter incident, 1973, Ohio, U.S. The Coney helicopter incident is a well-known UFO sighting that took place in Ohio in 1973. According to eyewitness accounts, a U.S. Army Reserve helicopter was flying over Mansfield, Ohio, when it encountered a strange cylindrical object that was reportedly hovering in the air. The object was described as being over 100 feet in length and having several lights on its surface. The helicopter crew reported that their instruments were affected by the presence of the object and that it appeared to be maneuvering in a way that defied the laws of physics. They always defy the laws of physics. They always maneuver and don't ever move in the way that an airplane or helicopter does. The Delphos UFO sighting, 1971, Delphos, Kansas, U.S. In 1971, a large glowing object was reportedly seen hovering in the sky above Delphos. It was described as being circular in shape and emitting a bright light. The sighting was reported by multiple witnesses. And that was very short. And then, lastly, of course, they have one of the most well-known places, Area 51 in Roswell. It says, some of you may be wondering about Area 51, which is so spooky we've dedicated an entire article to it. As for Roswell, the mother of UFO stories, no object was actually observed, so we've parked Roswell to one side. Those who don't know the story, the Roswell UFO incident took place in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, involving the alleged crash of extraterrestrial spacecraft and the recovery of its debris by the U.S. military. According to the story, the wreckage was taken to a military base where it was kept secret and covered up by the government. And still covered up today, I believe. So, I clicked on a little link to bring me to the article. It's about unlocking spy secrets of spooky Area 51. We can end it here, or I can go ahead and continue reading. It's up to you. You're the only one in the room, Miss Wood. I don't mind to read some more. I'm gonna get a drink and okay. I will keep going. This is a rather long one. It's the full page. Okay, here we go. I want to read about Area 51 anyway, so we'll learn together. The Nevada desert hides one of America's biggest secrets, Area 51, the test site for the world's most advanced espionage programs. The CIA, the Atomic Energy Commission, and the other government departments have used the site since 1955 for top-secret nuclear tests, drone trials, and testing spy planes that fly at 3 times the speed of sound for 3,000 miles without refueling. The site is so secretive, the CIA didn't even admit it existed until 2013. Area 51 is northwest of Las Vegas and part of a sprawling 368,000-acre military complex that includes the Nevada test site, established for nuclear weapons tests, and the Nevada Test and Training Range flight test and target practice. The airspace above is restricted and the base is strictly off limits to uninvited visitors, triggering conspiracy theories about what exactly the U.S. is hiding behind the warning signs, armed guards, and electronic surveillance of aliens, perhaps spaceships, evidence that we do not walk alone in the universe. The CIA's shadowy history with Area 51. Back in 1955, the CIA needed a base to test the prototype for its U-2 spy planes. The spies wanted a remote area easily accessible by air, and with fine weather year-round, it had to accommodate a large number of people, be equipped with fuel storage facilities, close to an air installation, and be able to contain a runway at least 8,000 feet long. Southern Nevada fit the bill. The base became known as Area 51, its designation on an old Atomic Energy Commission maps. The CIA initially tested its single-seater U-2 spy jet, which could fly at 70,000 feet, monitor electronic emissions, and photograph territory deep inside the Soviet Union, China, and other Cold War enemy countries. The U-2 spy planes at Area 51 remained a secret source. Oh, there goes the dogs. Sorry. Where was I? The U-2 remained a secret source of intelligence gathering until 1960, when the pilot Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. Powers was later returned to the U.S. in a swap for Soviet spy Rudolf Abel, a story told in Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies. Yeah, they are barking for no reason. There's nothing in there. I have cats, but the cats aren't bothering them, and they never do. They try to stay away from them, in fact. The dog just ran like, woof, woof, woof. The once top-secret plane remained in use. However, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, U-2 photographs confirmed the presence of Soviet nuclear-armed missiles in Cuba, and the jet has since been used for battlefield reconnaissance and surveillance. It was also put to good use when a Chinese spy balloon sailed into Canadian and U.S. airspace in 2023. There was no plan to retire the U-2 fleet. In fact, the Air Force flight tested and upgraded the jets in 2020 with high-powered cameras that provide more precise long-range tracking of stationary or moving targets, according to Lockheed Martin. Area 51 and spy planes has also been used to test the U-2 successor, the A-12 Oxcart. I thought this was going to tell about more aliens. Let me read ahead a little bit. I don't think that it is. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and go to nuclear weapons and deadly secrets. The Manhattan Project, code name for the mother of all black operations, was a top-secret World War II research project to produce the atom bomb. The U.S., with the help of Canada and Britain, created a nuclear weapon, but they needed space to develop it. New Mexico and later Nevada would prove to be ideal. Nuclear testing at Area 51's Nevada test site officially began in 1951 with the detonation of Shot Able. a 1 kiloton bomb. By 1992, the U.S. government had conducted more than 1,000 nuclear tests. According to the U.S. Atomic Heritage Foundation, about 100 of the tests were atmospheric, with the rest underground. Test facilities for nuclear rockets and ramjet engines were also used up to the early 1970s. The Atomic Energy Commission originally intended Area 51 to be used for quick experiments conducted with small-scale nuclear bombs. The results ideally would then lead to the development of bigger atomic bombs and advanced thermonuclear weapons. In reality, large-scale atmospheric tests became common and lasted for nearly 12 years, the Foundation said. Have you ever seen The Hills Have Eyes? It's a movie based about some inbreds that were near Area 51, I believe, and their homes were bombed and they became very mutated. This reminds me of something that could happen. They're testing all these atomic bombs and nuclear weapons and stuff. It's a very gory, sick movie, and highly possible if people live anywhere near there. The Hills Have Eyes. Look into it. And here it goes. It says, radiation leaks. Area 51 tests are a risky business. Operation Plum Bomb was a series of 30 nuclear tests designed to improve weapons and conduct biomedical experiments. Plum Bomb released radioiodine I-131 into the atmosphere, and about 3,000 servicemen were exposed to high levels of radiation during the Smokies test. Right there. Area 51 is not a place to mess with, for sure. And how you get a job there, I have no idea. Must be really high up in the military. It wasn't the only accident. During the space race in the 1950s, the U.S. was considering whether to build a nuclear-powered space-based missile launch system outside the Earth's atmosphere that could fire missiles into the Soviet Union. According to Annie Jacobson, author of Area 51, An Uncensored History, although the space weapons program didn't go ahead, that the U.S. tested a rocket to see if it could work, spewing radiation into the air. Jacobson told NPR that during one incident, a 148-pound chunk of radioactive debris landed in a sub-parcel of Area 51, an area that was then declared off-limits to humans for 6 weeks, even if they wore hazmat suits. According to the Department of Energy, Area 51's mission is wider than working on spy planes and weapon testing. It also has a mandate to apply environmental restoration techniques to areas affected by nuclear testing, manage low-level and mixed radioactive waste, investigate demilitarized and counter-proliferation technology, assist the Department of Defense on special activities, and operate a hazardous materials spill test center. Whether any of the special activities involve aliens isn't specified. They're doing all these testing and having accidents. Maybe that's where cancer comes from. It's another thing to think about. But it goes on to read about Area 51's UFO links. One of Area 51's many mysteries is how the spooky military base became a magnet for UFO conspiracy theorists and people convinced it's home to an underground laboratory where spaceships and perhaps even extraterrestrials were hidden away. The Roswell, New Mexico crash in 1947 certainly fueled the legend. While the U.S. military initially said a flying saucer had landed, the statement was later corrected to say a weather balloon had crashed down in a thunderstorm. Bullcrap, right? Bullcrap. Too late, the genie was out of the bottle. Witnesses came forward reporting alien sightings and shared stories about spacecraft wreckage brought to the military base near Area 51 as part of the cover-up. Some folks claimed to have been abducted. Others recalled being operated on by the Martians. All seemingly returned to Earth to tell their story. Area 51's alien ties have likely been useful to the intelligence agencies, a harmless distraction from news about radioactive fallout and weapons testing. But in 2019, when 2 people, I'm assuming that means 2 million people, announced on Facebook that they had planned to storm Area 51, I remember that. Happening. The military made it clear that trespassing wasn't an option. Area 51 is an open training range for the U.S. Air Force, and we would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American Armed Forces. In case that wasn't enough, the USAF added, the U.S. Air Force always stands ready to protect America and its assets. So, we talked about all kinds of things involving these aliens and Area 51. And never got any answers, unfortunately. But I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I hope to see you January 16th at 9 a.m. Again, it'll be about cryptids, and it will be a fun one. I hope to see you there. Bye. If it'll shut off.